Well. Good afternoon, everybody. And as you can tell, there's only one person here on your screen today. There's no Liam Wakeland. Now, we can all have our theories about what Mr. Wakeland is doing. I know last time that he missed and I did a solo show, he was actually interviewing King Charles. And he was going over the finer points of British strong style with the king. And I know he had told me at the time that the king was a big fan of the work of Grado. And so, I mean, that's just the kind of hard hitting journalism that you get from the magician Liam Wakeland. But sans the magician today, it is just I, the effing expert. Gonna do a solo commentary show. And before we do that, I'm just gonna go ahead, roll the introduction like we usually do, like the magician himself is still here. And let's roll with it. All right, everybody. It is March 9th, 2024. And wherever you are on this fine planet known as the third rock from the sun, planet Earth, baby. Welcome, everybody, to the Magic of Wrestling podcast. Again, I am the effing expert, Mr. Eyesiks, riding solo today. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be kind of crazy, going to be kind of off the wall. I'm going to be totally honest with everybody up front here. I have taken no notes. I have done no prep. This is all impromptu. This is all off the cuff. And that's how I like to do it, baby. That's how we like to roll here. So it's anything goes with the effing expert. And, I'll kind of start just by kind of going over some solo commentary of just kind of an update of some things I've been doing and some of my thoughts of what's going on in the grand world of professional wrestling. That's a shout out to Tiffany there because I know she loves when I say wrestling. But before we get started here, I kind of tweaked some settings here with the audio, so I hope it sounds okay. I'm going to listen to it back. I know in my ear monitors it sounds great. I kind of went and I adjusted the EQ settings. I added some compression. Adjusted some things around because I'm trying to make it to where I've got that rich radio voice, so that when I come on these programs, talking to the microphone here, it sounds like you're listening to FM radio. And I see we got Shane in the house. Shane says that it sounds great. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you being here. We got my man Noob in the house. I love Noob. Welcome, my man. Glad to see you, brother. And, again, kind of a free for all. But yeah, I adjusted the microphone settings a little bit. Try to make it a little more professional sounding. But, Liam is away. I joked earlier that, he was meeting King Charles or whatever. Maybe he's meeting the king again. Who the hell knows? But he is at an independent wrestling show in the UK. He's getting to be pretty big in the British indie scene over there in the UK. And, I was talking to my man Liam yesterday on Facebook Messenger, and he informed me that he has done 30 interview shows now. 30. And that just absolutely blew my mind because I couldn't believe that he has done that many interviews. I mean, he is becoming like a major figure in the British independent wrestling scene. And I got to say, hats off to him, man. I am so proud of the dude. I told him that, he's going to be the Chris Van Vliet of the British wrestling scene. Like anybody who becomes a star in the British wrestling scene is going to end up having an interview with Liam Wakelin. And I think that is so cool. And so shout out to him. I'm sure he's there probably rubbing elbows with some Brits over there. Maybe having some tea and crumpets or whatever the hell they do post show. And we're probably going to see a lot more good interviews from the magician. And yeah, Shane says that's pretty badass. It is, man. Like Liam is a workhorse. He is an absolute workhorse. And it's funny because, I've said this before. He and I kind of have this dynamic, kind of like you see on most 2-man podcasts, right? You kind of got the straight guy, which is him, that does all the nuts and bolts stuff, and puts together all the banners, and does all the promotion, and like pulls the strings, and then you've got the guy that's just kind of the banter guy that does like no research at all. It just shows up and turns the microphone on and just quips. Like that's what I do. I come on the show and I quip and I say whatever I want to say. And Liam sometimes looks horrified at things I say, but it just makes the show even better. And but that's just kind of our dynamic. We've got that kind of 2-person podcast dynamic, which if you look at a lot of major shows, that's the kind of dynamic you see. You got the straight guy and you've got the witty guy. I mean, hell, you even see that on the All Effin' show. You've got the straight guy, JFB, the witty guy, Canada F and Dry. And that just, to me, that's what makes a 2-person podcast. Makes it really special and gets that special sauce that you need to really put on a good, compelling program that people want to turn on and listen to, be entertained by. And, I have a lot of fun doing these. I'm going to bring in a first guest here, which is the aforementioned Canada F and Dry. What's going on, my friend?
Do you know what's better than a straight guy and a comedy guy?
What's that?
2 comedy guys!
Oh, yeah. How you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great. I just, we had our first debut of Around the Effing Galaxy.
Yeah.
It went really well. So it's exciting. Who knows how far we can go? But you know what? It's not really about, for me, it's not really about, ascending to stardom or heights or anything like that. To me, it's just about having fun and having community, and anything else after that is bonus.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I've been very fortunate that I stumbled into this community, that Liam brought me into this. So I'm very happy to be a part of this.
You've been discovered. You've been noticed.
You've been noticed. I've been put on the list. It's like, what, am I put on a no-fly list or something? Like, what the hell does that mean?
Well, even I remember like when he said he's bringing you in for the show and he wants to make you a regular. I like to, it was my idea to bring you into AFW League.
Yeah.
Because then I get to know people.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a great place to just kind of chit chat and hang out. So that's where I just like, you get the feel for somebody and you're like, because you don't want to just throw anyone on the air.
Right.
You got to get.
You don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they might take their pants off and go running around. I mean, you have no clue.
There was a fellow in our group that kept on saying, "Take your pants off, man."
Now, what kind of ragamuffin in our crew would do something like that?
PCB.
Panama City Beach. Gotcha.
Yes, Panama City Beach. The PCB kid, the Panama City Beach kid. He could dress in like, oh no.
Shane says that one day he's going to take his pants off. So one day when we have Shane on the program, it's probably going to be on a Saturday night, I'm sure, on the garage.
As long as he has like boxers on and not like tidy whities, I think. We don't want to see like Mr. Tom slip out.
Haney says that you need some salt with your sauce. So, like when you have the special sauce, he says you need to sprinkle a little salt on it. And I get his point because sometimes you do need a little bit of a salty bastard to come in just for the sake of balance.
Yeah, and like on the All After Wrestling show, he's got his own segment now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I have to make a little intro for him because you know he's got a lot of knowledge.
He's a very smart man. He is. He's very
Yes.
knowledgeable. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you really don't want to argue with him because you know even if you stand your ground, it's like a lose-lose battle.
Uh, he has a way
he's
of
a good
arguing.
friend, and he has a good heart, and he's the kind of guy that'll give you a shirt off his back.
Yeah. He is a very nice guy. Like when I first started coming on the shows and like he was kind of like heckling us a little bit,
Yeah.
like I hadn't talked to him and I was like, who the hell is this guy? Like he's in here like heckling me. And then like after I kind of like got involved in the chats and got to know him, I'm like, okay. That's just how that's like a brotherly love kind of thing.
He's like one of the guys from the Muppets, the guys who sit up in the rafters.
Yeah, the old men in the peanut gallery.
Yes. I never remember their name, but
I don't remember their name either. I think Kenny Omega sucks, and I think you do too.
Young Bucks can wrestle.
They look like 10-year-old school children.
They laugh right after. You got to laugh right after. But the reason I'm calling in is I watched Five Nights at Freddy's last night.
Really? Okay. Now I've not gotten around to watching this one yet. But what are your thoughts on it? Because I know it was kind of polarizing in the horror community, so I'm curious to know what you think.
All right, so I've never played the game. Have you played the game?
I have not.
So it's really interesting to watch this. I had a friend come over, I think 3 nights ago, and we were just sitting there chatting, and I'm like, and he just wants to come over and hang out for a bit, and then he leaves. And so I was like, well, I'll tell you what, every time you come over, I'll put on Five Nights at Freddy's because I don't really want to watch it alone. It's not that it's scary. It's just, it's one of those movies you got to have someone with.
Right. Right.
And the reason for that is you got to be poking fun at this movie the whole time you're watching it. Like you got to be like, what the hell is that? Like, who writes this shit?
Right.
So there's at one point, so the main star is he's from, I believe, the Hunger Games.
Okay.
And so he's a bit of his character's a bit of a washed out bum. He can't seem to keep a job. He's always causing trouble, getting into fights. It's because when he was a kid, his little brother went missing, and it's kind of led him, just couldn't recover from that.
Yeah.
And so he goes from job to job. He can't keep a job, and he's trying to look after his little sister because his mom and dad died also.
All right.
And so, the career counselor tells him, "Listen," and it's the guy from Scooby Doo, Shaggy.
Oh yeah.
He's playing the counselor. He's like, "Listen, I have a job for you." And he's like, "Well, listen, I don't do nights." And he's like, "Well, that's too bad." He's like, and he's got this little sort of evil way to his voice and everything. And you're like, "Yeah, this guy's a bad guy." And so his aunt wants to take the sister, but he's kind of fighting to keep her.
Okay.
And so she hires these goons, 4 goons, and which is the amount of money she's giving them is just stupid. It's $100 for 4 people.
$100.
Yeah, so he takes the job, and he's got to just the Five Nights at Freddy place that like a Chuck E. Cheese sort of place,
right?
And he's got to look after this place. And she figures if she pays these goons to break in and mess some shit up, he's going to get fired, and she's going to get the daughter. But she pays these goons $100 to share.
Oh my god. What a
Like,
ridiculous premise.
yes, it's so dude. Like, yeah. So so these robots, they end up killing all the goons,
Right.
and then his little sister ends up coming to the place,
Oh boy, of course.
but they don't know that these goons have been killed, and she becomes best friends with them, and they're like hugging, and I'm just like, what is this movie? It's it's it, it's a great movie to watch if you have somebody you watch with, and you're just ready to just poke fun at it.
Yeah, and I know that the horror community was very, very critical of it. Like the hardcore horror aficionados out there were not a big fan of it.
Well, it's kind of like a Chucky,
Right.
that sort of feel to it. Like, I remember when Chucky first came out,
Oh yeah.
people were making fun of this movie,
Yeah.
and it's lasted. It's had staying power. So, um,
I just remember the main part that I remember. I think it was in the second one where he like beats the teacher with the ruler or the yardstick. It's such a ridiculous notion of like this little doll like taking a yardstick and beating a teacher with it.
well, so stupid because all the teacher needs to do is boot the doll.
I know.
And quite often in this series, in the movies, you just need to kick it.
Just kick the damn thing like a football. Just kick it across the room.
Like, even if it gets you with the knife, like, you're still going to be able to kick it.
Shane wants to know, is Cocaine Bear considered a horror? I did watch Cocaine Bear. I don't consider it a horror. I think it's just kind of a dark comedy. Like it's a very funny movie if you watch. Have you seen Cocaine Bear?
I haven't. If I should I watch it?
I think it's worth a watch. I mean, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I mean, it is pretty funny. It is. And to bring it full circle wrestling related, it's got Orange Cassidy's theme at the very start of it. And
really?
it also has O'Shea Jackson Jr., who's been tweeting a lot about wrestling lately. He's one of the stars of it.
So, with Swerve's wrestling question, is Swerve's music, was that made for him, or is that something that's out there?
I think he, if I'm not mistaken, like he makes rap songs, and I think he might be on that song, if I'm not mistaken.
Because they're playing this at hockey games now.
Oh yeah.
I was watching the hockey game the other day. All of a sudden, Swerve, when I drive, comes on. I'm like, yes.
Well, I know that Swerve does rap because, like, if you watch his, I don't know if you've ever watched his Swerve City podcast.
I kind of, it's on my list, and I think I got to watch it probably today.
I watched a couple episodes, and like him and I think his co-host name is Mont Easy. It's like his rap partner, and like they do like one of their rap songs, a different song, is the intro to the Swerve City podcast. So I think that Swerve probably at least produced his own theme music. But
it's
yeah,
catchy.
that's cool though.
It's catchy,
yeah,
right?
I mean it's awesome. I mean I see it all over TikTok too, because I'm a weird old guy. I browse TikTok, like I'm some Gen Z. But yeah, like I see a lot of Swerve's theme song and people doing the Swerve dance, and these are like people that aren't even like their whole shtick is not I'm a wrestling commentator. It's just like regular people.
Yeah,
but it's really cool though.
Yeah, passing off into regular culture, regular pop culture is really cool.
Haney wants to know, and Haney's waiting up backstage, by the way. I'll bring him in here in just a second, but in fact, I'll bring him in right now. He wants to ask, what about Cocaine Tony? Now, Alex Haney, have you seen Cocaine Tony, and can you describe that for us?
Yeah, it is called the EW Media Scrums, and it's quite cool. That I mean, there's one every couple of months. I think it's just it's just the best comical thing you'll ever see in your life,
Now, have you guys watched the Dark Side of the Ring Earthquake episode?
Not yet.
No,
The,
I don't have Vice. I don't have Vice on YouTube TV, so I can't watch it usually until it like hits Hulu later.
Okay. So yeah, what I like about this one,
Days.
it just gives you a back story to who he really was.
Was
It's
it
not
good?
really. Yes, it really gives you a like I think I remember something about him doing sumo, but I wasn't quite sure. And
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
and that's really cool that he
Yeah, he was a
started
pro
out as
sumo wrestler. Yeah.
Yeah, that was big. That was big in Europe for a while in the sort of late 80s, early 90s as well. And what was it? And he was one of the American guys that was sort of showing. What was it? It was. I don't know how old the tapes were back then, but I can sort of remember watching sumo wrestling on a Saturday on Grand Slam.
Now, what are the rules to sumo wrestling?
Sorry?
What are the rules? You have to get the guy out of the circle? Is that
Yeah,
it?
you got to like get him out of the circle is what you have to do. Basically, just using the weight of your torso, you have to get a guy out of the circle, and then you get a point if you get him out of the circle.
Now, he was so much bigger than all the other sumo wrestlers.
Yeah.
And
you do know that. You do know sumo wrestling was one of the most corrupt sports ever.
I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard that it had a lot of
so
corruption.
people taking dives and stuff to kind of like boxing.
Very, very corrupt because I mean, it's an ancient sport. It's an ancient sport. Whether that's true, it was a sort of a variation. But was I would need to look into it. But yeah,
they said last night, Dark Side of the Ring. It goes back way, way, way back.
I always remember Big Show's big nappy at WrestleMania.
But he started pro wrestling, which is his real goal. He wanted to be a pro wrestler, and All Japan, and he then asked permission because WWE was interested in him. Like he was wrestling for a long time before he actually got to WWE.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys did because a lot of the guys didn't want to go north. You know, what was it? If you look at the WWF, predominantly, what was it? Most of the big guys came from the north. You know, but was it? The athleticism and wrestling really came from sort of like Georgia and Florida and things like that. You know, and I think Texas was big as well. You know. But it made it hard for a lot of these guys to sort of break in because they didn't have a sort of place, you know. And that's why All Japan was the place to go. What was it, and do the sort of tours is because what was it? They loved the sort of big physical guys, you know.
Oh yeah.
But so that was the sort of reason. I mean, yeah, it's very dynamic.
Sorry, what I want to touch on is that you know, in the 80s especially, a lot of the wrestlers, they were out partying, going to strip clubs, getting drunk, getting high out of their minds, sleeping around. But Tugboat, Joel Ottman and John Tenta, they would just hang out and in their rooms, play cards and eat food and hang out and just enjoy each other's company. They were like best friends.
Yeah.
Bad Take Cade's in the house. What's up, Cade?
That son of a bitch.
I gotta give some love.
He leaves a bad taste in your mouth every time he just shows up.
He's leaving taste in your mouth, huh? He also says it's crazy that Earthquake looked so old back when he was younger. Yeah, this was kind of a weird thing back in like decades past. It's like people aged like shit. It's like, you know, people were 30 years old and they look like they were like 60 now.
I mean, look at Big Bubba, Big Boss Man. He was 25 when he came into the WWE. You know,
you know, they look like they've lived like a hard 60 years and they're like 25. That's just kind of like a thing with the times, man. I don't know. It's like today.
But it's also like when you're doing the drugs, that's going to age you fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But
He
even
put-
like guys that really didn't do it, like Arn Anderson. Look how old Arn Anderson's looked like he's 55, like for 40 years.
Yes.
I mean, when Aaron Anderson's born, his mother must went, damn,
He probably came out with a hairy chest.
and a Glock.
Yes.
Haney, you got anything else for us, my man?
I mean, I can't even remember why I was going. It was putting in.
We got to talking about Earthquake, and yeah, so I was kind of interested whenever they decided they were going to do an episode on Earthquake, because I was like, I wonder where they're going as far as the dark side angle goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he had cancer and he passed away from that, but like I didn't hear anything in his career that was like controversial other than like his shoot fight that he had in Japan.
To me, it was more how he was treated, just kind of like used and thrown out kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
by the industry.
Yeah, I loved Earthquake. John Tenta. I thought he was awesome. You know, he had a couple of weird gimmicks in WCW. He was Shark, and then he was like what, Avalanche? I think was his other
the
one.
reason they couldn't keep the Avalanche was because it was too close to Earthquake, and they were, I think they were worried about getting
too close. It's two completely different things.
I think sometimes with and I'm not really a big fan of the dark side, because I think what was it? Some of their focus has been way off, and it doesn't give you it gives you one side of a story and not both sides. You know, a lot of the time. I didn't particularly like the Snooker or the Crispin Wah one, particularly Snooker. It was almost like the people that they had was almost defending what he did. You know,
Right.
it was in the Benoit one there as well. You know, they brought out David, and they put him there like obviously with everything that went on. You know, I mean, it's just. Well, I wasn't comfortable with it, you know. I just think it's a negative show that tries to sort of, but was it not? But I get people enjoy it, you know. But for me, but was it? It's hard to. But was it? There's always more to a story, you know. There's always more to a story, you know.
The show I really love is Tales from the Territories.
Yep.
I haven't seen any of those.
You haven't seen any of them? Oh,
I haven't seen any of them. No.
Like, because you're just learning about stuff you didn't know about, and you're like, oh, like this is so cool. Like,
the only, I mean, again, what was it? That stuff's really good, you know. But again, it's, and a lot of people talk about how like WWE have rewritten history. The whole territory thing is rewritten history as well. If WWE hadn't come along, it was going to fall apart. You know, they were starting to break up. The old guard were getting old. You know, but was it? And Vince wasn't the only one that was trying to do what he did. You know, what was it? You know, and what was it called? Ironically, what the one thing that they did to try and get rid of Vince is why you got the money for WrestleMania with the TBS. You know, there was a big outcry with TBS, and you know, what was it called? They tried to blackmail him, and Vince says, "I don't negotiate." You know, what was it? And very much, and I mean, forgetting about the things that's going on, very much the way sort of Tony Khan's come in with a new vision and a new idea. You know. And a bit, what was it? Whereas he's got obviously the money behind him. You know, people don't like change. What was it? The wrestling industry had been the same for about 50 years. You know, at that point. So,
right.
For the territory story about how like the big companies ruined what was it? What was it? The territories is not directly true. You know, it's.
Well, I think that what they did was they pulled the plug a lot sooner than it would have.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the territories, let's be honest, the territories would have disappeared.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Bought them because, I mean, if you just look at the economy just in general, just outside of wrestling, you know, as the decades progressed and as society progressed, everything became more national and global and less regionalized. And I mean, you could look at any business on earth and it's that way. You could look at grocery store chains. they used to be heavily regionalized back in like the 80s and into the 90s, and now they're pretty much all nationwide. I
Yeah,
mean, you can still find some here and there.
I mean, I remember as a kid going into the high street and you had the butchers, fishmongers, and you had the bakers, and you had the local shop. All that's gone. You know, what was it? What was it? It's happening with banks just now. What was it? Going back to wrestling. Wrestling was enormous in the UK. You know, what was it? And it disappeared around about that same time. You know, what was it? Because of bad management and people that had been there for too long.
Yeah.
If Vincent came along, there might not even have been a big wrestling scene. You know, it might have disappeared, and it would have been sort of like little regional promotions. It might
That's
not
true.
have came anything. You know, what was it called? But then again, you had like the AWA and things like that. They had the aspirations to do the exact same thing. It's just you've got to be first, unfortunately, and you know, so it's a sort of difficult one. You know.
The other thing I want to talk about, if you're okay with that, is the Iron Claw movie.
Before we get to that, I'm going to show Haney one thing that I think he's going to like. And it was brought up
I know what it is.
By Shane. Says here, Cornette definitely doesn't like change. So Haney, I told you I met Cornette, right? A few years ago. So he sent, I got this from him. I don't know how well this will come across on camera.
Oh, I love that.
The Midnight Express, and it says, to Jeremy, your friend Jim Cornette. So I dug that out the other day, and I showed Canada Dry, and he's like, you should show that on the program one day. I was like, all right, I'll do that. Awesome. And since I got Haney here, and I know he's a fellow Cornette fan like I am, I figured I would show that on the air.
I think Jim's misunderstood in a lot of ways, and what you need to remember about Jim, what was it with his podcast is, and the reason why it's the top sort of what was it a podcast and what it does is because he's still playing the guys on with the fans, you know. With the clips that get posted, if you actually go listen to his show, there's a whole multitude of stuff that's talked about politics. They do movie reviews. What was it? It tells amazing wrestling stories, and you can see why he detests what goes on just now with wrestling. But in the same light, he's not always negative about things, you know. People and we had this conversation as well, Aaron, about the WWE. What was it the other week? It's just about both sets of fans think Jim Cornette hates, you know. What was it? Jim, what's interesting is with the whole EW thing, and Jim's alluded to it. He was going to be part of Tony's original idea, right? What was it? He signed an NDA.
He brought him in and talked to him. Yeah.
Yep. And as soon as he heard that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were involved, he left.
Where he signed the NDA, he can't really get too into the specifics, but he made it sound like that Tony Khan flew him down to Jacksonville, or he drove down. He doesn't fly. Jim doesn't. But he paid for him to come down to Jacksonville and meet with him. And, presumably he was probably preliminarily interviewing him to possibly be involved in AEW, probably in a creative capacity. But then when he found out that the Bucks and Omega were involved, he doesn't like that style of wrestling, and he said that he was out. So, he's mentioned that a few times on the show.
Yeah. And I mean, what was it? There's some amazing shoot videos online. I highly recommend going out and picking out the what was it? The one with Bobby Heenan, but it's a 3-part interviewer thing. I don't know if you've seen it, and it's absolutely amazing. The two of them together are just the stories to tell. It's just what was it? The historical stories they tell. You know, it's just absolutely phenomenal. You know.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I'll check it out because that sounds very intriguing.
They're well worth checking out. What was it? They do 2 interviews at a sort of an interview place, and then they go to Jim's new house, which is where he stays now, Castle Cornette, as they call it.
Yeah.
And Bobby brings him one of his jackets, you know, and they're going to.
Oh, that would be cool. Have one of those.
It's just an amazing story to be told.
Well,
But well worth checking out. I think Cornette's what was it misunderstood. You know, what was it?
yeah, I think so too. Because let me tell you about my experience meeting him. You know, I went to a horror movie convention. There's a convention in Lexington, Kentucky called Scarefest.
Yeah,
right.
he loves horror.
And yeah, he loves horror, and he's also a big comic collector. So
Yeah.
This is pre-podcast. He was in his last month of working for Ring of Honor, so he was wearing a Ring of Honor t-shirt. I think I've shared the picture before of like he and I, but he was sitting at a table by himself. Well, his wife was there, Stacy. And they were just sitting there alone because like this was pre-podcast. This was a horror convention. It wasn't a wrestling convention. And like nobody really paid much attention to him. He was just sitting there by himself. So like I went up there with the guy that I was with, and we sat and talked to this guy for almost a half hour about wrestling.
Yeah.
And he is so friendly and so approachable. And like he talked to us like we were his best friends and he'd known us our whole lives.
Yeah.
And like his very kind of over the top demeanor, he's still like that. Because when we were in the middle of talking, like a guy in a Freddy Krueger cosplay walked by and he goes, "Well, hell, there's Freddy." And like jumped up and wanted a picture with him. Like, but I mean, it was just such a great experience meeting the guy. Like he was very warm and friendly, and
yeah, he's just opinionated.
He amps it up for the podcast. Obviously, you know he's working a little bit. Yeah. Let's be honest.
And the stuff that's posted it was exactly that. It's little clips, you know. It's what I've talked about. What the WWE do, they pick the bit they want you to see, you know. What was it? It's why it's a TikTok generation. They just want 3 or 4 minutes, you know. I was the only time Jim's ever been in the UK. I was in Disney, so I never got to go to the tour it did over here. But there's a video of it. It's worth checking out. But
yeah, he did that a corny in the UK DVD, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And JR was there at one point. I think Brett appeared at one point as well.
Do you know what I heard about Cornette?
What's up?
He eats corn the long way.
Actually, that's Goldberg, according to a 1998 Nitro sign.
and that brings me to the point I was coming on to make. I wanted to discuss why chickens make terrible secret agents.
What is it?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
We didn't hear what you said.
I want to discuss, because, I mean, you says come on and talk about anything. I want to discuss why chickens make terrible secret agents.
Okay.
You know?
Go ahead and discuss that. Give us a reason why.
Well, I mean, there's a multitude of reasons. Like they blow their cover by clucking all the time. I mean, you know, you know, they've got poor memory. You know.
Well, the other thing is, when people get hungry, they'll kill you and eat you.
They're compromised by a seed trail, you know. So what was it? You know, if you're ever like on the other side and you think there's a secret agent chicken following you, what you just need to have a wee bit like a seed falling out your back pocket, you know, and you know you soon know they'll soon come out, they'll soon show their face, you know.
I'll have to.
Which reminds me of the Animaniacs.
Sorry?
You wear a disguise to live in human guise, but you're not a man. You're a chicken, boo.
Yep.
I have to show you this meme. I have to show you guys this meme that I stumbled across. It was like something about like making chicken in the air fryer. And it was like a air fryer, one of those basket air fryers, and there was 3 little like live chicks in it.
Oh no.
And then the next scene showed like 3 perfectly cooked, batter covered pieces of chicken. Like, no. The recipe was great. It was fantastic.
Have you seen the meme with the chocobo sandwich from Final Fantasy, and it's got the chocobo in between the 2 bits of bread?
Do you know what's the biggest scam in the chicken industry?
What's that?
Popcorn chicken.
It is. Just tear off a little piece of a tender.
Yeah, such a little speck of chicken with batter. You're basically eating batter.
Basically, yeah. It's batter bites.
Yeah, it's the biggest scam. Like, who's eating this popcorn chicken?
Do you know?
Children love it.
Do you know what they're called in the UK?
What's that?
Chicken balls.
Chicken balls?
The little, I want to see your tiny chicken balls.
I
Yeah.
bet that rooster would make some fine chicken balls.
But
What I think that the Iron Claw movie is highly overrated.
Really?
Yes.
I can't talk about it.
I've heard nothing but good things about it so far. Except
So,
for
well,
Ric Flair.
well,
I heard that he sucked.
my problem with this movie is character development.
Mm-hmm.
You do not really know them. They're just on the screen. You don't really feel who they are.
Right.
Like that for me, that's huge. Is the character development, and it's
I think
basically
Haney dropped off for a second here.
yeah,
Got you back
Hello?
on, Haney. Yep, you're back.
yeah, and it's basically built around the one guy, the surviving member.
Yeah, Carrie.
It doesn't
Or
include
Kevin, sorry.
yeah, it doesn't include all the brothers.
Yeah.
They leave someone out. I forget which one, but
David? Is that the one that was missing?
I totally don't remember. But
I think David Von Erich was missing from this. I think they just acted like he didn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, I've not seen it, but I actually thought it was going to. I mean, I think that for me, the best wrestling movie is The Wrestler, hands down. It's absolutely.
The Wrestler's great.
That's Ric Flair. What was it called? But I mean, for me, that Iron Claw story, knowing the sort of Von Erichs, I thought it was a sort of weird choice for a movie because what was it? For it to really work, you really need to vilify the father. And did they do that in the movie?
yeah, they made him a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
I mean, he was more than a bit of a dick, you know.
Well, they didn't really. I think they didn't really make him like an abuser or anything. They just made him a hard ass.
Right.
But that's the difficulty with the movie because the Von Erichs have got such a hardcore fan base that are a bit older. They would have crapped all over that movie if they went in and they had actually annihilated the father, even though he was what he is, you know. What was it?
To me, the movie that would really be cool to make, and I think Owen's wife Martha would hold this up from happening. Would be the Hart family legacy, or the dungeon, you call it.
Yeah, she wouldn't want him involved at all, I'm sure.
So like that would be a cool story. Like that, you get Brett and Owen's story in there. You get like the Stampede days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do the whole thing without Owen, but would you know?
I wouldn't want it without Owen.
And that's
that'd be tough. That'd be a tough sell.
that's the sort of risk, you know, with that sort of movie, you know. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of wrestling fans that probably don't even know that Bray had brothers apart from Owen, you know.
Oh yeah, unless they saw that one Survivor Series where all the brothers teamed up. Remember that?
Yeah, with the 70s Tashies.
Could you just not call him Owen Hart? Could you just call him Oj the whole movie and get away with it?
Oj. I just remember in that Survivor Series match, what was it? Bruce Hart was like a firefighter or something. So of course he did a fireman's carry and spun a guy around a whole bunch of times.
That was his one appearance in WWE.
Yeah. that one. Do you remember that, Aaron? The Survivor Series match where all the Hart brothers teamed up and yeah. That was pretty funny.
Against King Jerry's Knights.
Yeah.
So that was.
I remember it was Jerry Lawler, but I couldn't remember who was on his team.
Yeah, I think Jerry Lawler was even in it.
No, he had that was when he had his issue. That was when he had his issues, which mysteriously disappeared. You know,
his issues that are not to be discussed.
All of it was pretty much Owen and Brett and a bunch of jobbers.
Yeah,
right. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Jerry's the 16-year-old girl that had brought the thing. Says that it was a misunderstanding and it didn't happen. You know.
Sorry, I thought I was raped, but I wasn't. My mistake.
Now, Aaron, Shane is taking you to task here a little bit. He says popcorn chicken is still tasty.
Can I answer that one,
Is
Aaron?
it?
Aaron, can I answer that one? Shane, you're in a perpetual, what was it, state of being stoned and having the munchies. You would eat anything.
Well, we got Shane here, and he's here to respond in person. Shane,
Sorry, what
do
was
you
that
think about
again?
it?
What was that again?
I says you're in a perpetual. You live your life perpetually in a stone state, and always have the munchies. So
Perpetually in a stone state.
So popcorn
mean-
chicken probably anything would taste good to you.
I mean, you're not wrong there. Like, I'm actually probably in the stone state right now, and I'm on my way to order some skip.
A perpetually stone state. I like that.
Actually, I'm perfect. You let me on right away because that whole what you call it, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Remember that Shawn Michaels took over. Bobby the Brain Heenan was praising Michaels the whole time. Threw him the water bottle halfway through the match or whatever when Michaels was tired in the corner, and that's what then it started the feud between Brett and Owen, which that then became perfect. Like that set the long-term storytelling between Brett and Owen right there. Was that Survivor Series?
One of the nights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Shawn Michaels was with the Knights. And that was, I think, Michaels ended up being last man standing or something like that. And then that's why all of a sudden he's like tired in the corner. Heenan throws in the water bottle. That was like hilarious. That was a hilarious moment. And then, moment Brett and Owen. And then what was the mother's name?
Martha.
Martha, yeah, I'm pretty sure I recall her pretending she's crying or like, why boys, don't boys, no, or whatever.
It's interesting because that story, that sort of time as well, is Owen was actually looking at leaving because he felt that at that point, nothing was happening with him.
Yeah,
So,
I felt like his career was going nowhere, right?
Yeah,
this is the dumbass that Vince is. He's got Owen Hart, like this acrobatic, like the kid can do anything.
Yeah,
and he wants to bring in Bruce to feud with Brett.
and
like Brett has to talk Vince into it.
Right.
Yeah,
they'll do it with Owen.
You've got to be fair. It was a different time and it was working for them. This was just before it was starting to fall apart. With the big guys. And the steroid trial and things like that. It just happened. That was the start of the sort of new the next generation. If that whole trial hadn't happened, then none of this was what we're talking about just now would never have happened. We would have had a completely different scenario played out.
You're probably right there. It probably would have continued to be King and Bret Hart for a lot longer. But I forgot. I'm wearing my Young Buck shirt right now.
I need a sound on my soundboard that just goes triggered.
But no, you are probably right, Haney, though. Like that probably, seriously, if that Jerry the King Lawler didn't get pinched for that shit, it would 100%. I don't think the Owen and Brett feud would have took place then.
Yeah.
Which would have been
Vince was just looking for something, and he's like, "Well, we'll bring Bruce in, and you guys can have a brother feud."
Yeah, Jerry Lawler had some interesting issues going on legally around this time.
Yeah.
You think?
Peculiar.
So we got the garage after dark tonight.
We do.
So it's gonna be interesting. We're practicing for off the cuff for tonight.
Yeah, and I'm being dead serious when I said that I came into this with absolutely zero notes. I wrote nothing down. I had a couple things floating around in my brain. I'm like, I'll talk about it if I can. If I don't, whatever.
Have you talked about them yet?
I was just gonna kind of go over like my experience because I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu this week.
Oh, nice, dude.
And I was gonna kind of go over my experience with that and what my first two sessions were like. Getting my ass kicked.
Are you bruised up?
A little bit. My knees kind of got like a Matt burn because I did.
I love Matt Burns. That guy's a hell of a guy.
I did one no gi class and one gi class, right? So I don't know how much you guys know about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but
A little bit.
yeah, so like the Gracie family and everything, they wear the judo gis,
Yeah.
the traditional kimono from Japan that's like very heavily reinforced, so you could grab and throw and
Royce used to wear in the original UFC
Yes.
when there were no rules.
yes, you can see Hoist Gracie's early fights. He's wearing the gi, and
There used to be a Gracie gym actually in my like about 5-10 minutes, but it's gone now. But yeah, there was a sanctioned school, you could call it, just
That
down
was
the
when
road street.
that was when UFC was great. You had like a proper sort of like jiu-jitsu guy against a guy that just came out of bar, you know, a bit
Yeah.
raw.
Yeah, and watch one guy punch the other guy in the balls while that guy's grabbing his hair. I don't really remember.
well, there was one fight in particular where Keith Hackney, who was like a Kempo karate guy, went up against Joe Son, who's like the big fat Japanese guy that was in the Austin Powers movies. And like yeah, and they had a fight, and like they ended up on the ground. Joe Son like had him in a bear hug or something on the ground, and Hackney just started teeing off and rabbit punching him in the balls because that wasn't illegal.
Yeah,
And, like,
that's exactly the.
I mean,
Yeah,
he was literally just going bam, bam, like right in his groin, like literally punching the balls. And it turns out that guy ended up being a sexual predator and went to prison.
Oh, no.
So it's like, you know what, Keith Hackney, applause, man. You should have taken his balls completely off.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about sexual predators, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
Well, let's talk about that. So
I can't wait.
What Haney's referring to is that there was an announcement this week that Mike Tyson and Jake Paul are going to headline AT&T Stadium, which is the biggest stadium on earth. And it's going to air live on Netflix.
Now, where is AT&T Stadium?
AT&T Stadium is the stadium of the Dallas Cowboys.
Jerry Jones. Yeah.
And he wanted it, like when Jerry Jones had this built, he wanted it to be the biggest, most technologically advanced stadium on earth. And it is. Like it is literally the biggest stadium on earth.
The Jumbotron on it. I think he's got the biggest Jumbotron inside of arena too.
Oddly enough, BC Place is equal to that Jumbotron.
What's that?
Yeah.
BC Place is they copied their Jumbotron.
Yeah.
Our stadium.
So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Mike Tyson is 57 years old. So I know what I think is going to happen, but I kind of want to get your all's thoughts and see what you think. I don't know how much, boxing you guys have seen or know much about, but Canada Dry, have you seen Jake Paul, and did you watch any of Tyson's old fights?
Record?
Jake Paul has a professional boxing record. Let me look it up real quick. He's had one.
I don't think he's lost yet. There's no, or I can't remember.
He did. He lost to Tyson Fury's little brother.
That's right. Yeah. Never mind.
He's not.
First things first, though. Before we even talk about the fight, I got to say, as far as this is, if you're wrestling or if you're a boxing fan or not, this is a good trial run for Netflix Live for all those people that are waiting for when WWE.
Yeah, that's what this.
Yeah, that's what I thought about. Like, I'm like, this is the perfect trial run for all of us just to see, like, how is Netflix going to be capable?
Okay, so I looked it up, and Jake Paul's professional boxing record is 9 wins and 1 loss. He lost to Tommy Fury, who's the little brother of Tyson Fury, which is the only. It's like he fought 2 actual professional boxers, and everybody else he's beat has either been like a social media influencer or a retired old MMA fighter.
Yeah, especially when he fought Ben Askren. Ben Askren wasn't known as a puncher in freaking UFC. He was mostly a grappler.
Yeah, Ben Askren was an Olympic gold medalist wrestler, and he was notoriously bad at striking. So, of course, why not line him up for a boxing fight? That makes total sense.
Fun fact though, a disc golfer too. But as far as the fight, though, I'm like watching Tyson's training videos the other day.
Mhm.
Seeing him, he's still got the duck under overhand punch, man. Like he was, like it almost looked like him back in the day. That was such a great freaking strike when he do that.
Yeah.
And if he catches Jake with that, like if this is not a fixed fight, there's no way Jake's gonna win. Like Tyson hits him with that, it's lights out for freaking Jake.
If he does catch him with that, and he does have that sneaky hook, where he kind of
that tucking over, man. That like
the
it
head
almost
movement,
looked like it back in the day, man.
Tyson's got the best head movement probably in the history of the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
And what he'll do is, he'll kind of roll to the left or roll to the right, a circular motion, and then he'll hit you with a hook shot and put you out. That's how he won like all his fights.
The scary thing about Tyson is he never actually reached his prime, which is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Mr. Isaac, can you? I don't know if you can play videos. Can you look up on YouTube Iron Mike Tyson explosive training? Dude can knock out any current heavyweight. I think the title is. See if you can
I would have to, in order to play video, I would have to, I think, download it, and I don't think I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I know what you're talking about, though. I've seen the clip of it. I mean, yeah, the guy's still got some speed. He's still got some power. But here's what I think is going to happen, and I think this is what Jake Paul's banking on to happen. Jake Paul is going to work on footwork, and he's going to work on defense, and he's basically just going to back up for several rounds until an almost 60-year-old Tyson, who is not a technical boxer, is going to gas himself out.
Yeah.
And he's going to allow Tyson to gas out, and he's just going to jab him and stay at a distance, and he's going to win a boring decision. Like, that's what I think is going to happen.
Like pretty much a Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight. That's exactly how he got a ridiculously stupid perfect record, was fighting that boring style.
So Jake Paul is going to avoid the knockouts.
That's what I think. That's what I predict is going to happen. That's an expert prediction.
If he connects, you're in trouble.
If he connects, he's done.
Like with the freaking training video I saw the other day of him, like, sorry, a couple days ago, it was just like, dude, hearing him hit the pads, it was explosive.
Yeah, he's still a dangerous man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But man, being almost 60 years old and Jake Paul is young, he's going to make him chase him, and he's going to wear him down, and he's going to gas quick, and then Jake's just going to take little shots at him and not take any risk, and he's going to win a decision. I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen.
How horrible is that?
It's going to be bad. Yeah, it's going to be bad. It really is. But that's just what's going to happen. That's what I think is going to happen.
Cool on paper thing. It's not going to actually be a good match.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like you immediately go to, like, when you think Tyson's going to fight, you immediately go to Tyson in 89, 90, or 91. That's what's in my head. And you think Jake Paul wouldn't stand a chance. No. But these fights are so orchestrated and rigged. I love boxing, but boxing is in such a dire state just now.
You're right.
And what was it? I mean, Floyd Mayweather Jr. is not the greatest boxer of all time. Just because he's got this pretense. What was it? I mean, he picked these fights. He never fought anybody of significance until they were too old. What was it called? Sorry to anybody that's a Floyd Mayweather fan. But I mean,
I think Pacquiao was the better fighter.
Yeah. And
Pacquiao had a better resume as far as we thought. Yeah.
I used to be a Money Mayweather fan, but then after halfway through, it was like when I started watching more and more, I'm like, nah, these fights are not exciting at all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's really good defensively. He's got good movement. He does that Philly shell, where he keeps one glove down here and one up here, and like he's mastered that technique. And
so I think overall, this match could be bad for boxing.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
You sell the place out, everyone buys the tickets, And then you're like, why did we come?
The entire Jake Paul experience has been bad for boxing.
Actually, yesterday, what's his face? Francis Ngannou.
Fight.
Yeah, Nagano just got he literally folded. Like that look made him like really. Well, then Tyson Fury versus him and going to a draw or whatever. That looked bad on boxing.
You see the knockout? I mean, AJ never even got out of second gear. You know?
Yeah.
What was it called? It was just. It was an absolute beast of a punch. You know?
It was amazing to me that I was, looking at all the YouTube polls and everything as I was scrolling through, and everybody thought Ngannou was going to win. I'm like, are you all nuts?
Yeah.
Like, I never once thought Ngannou was going to win this.
No.
Like, I just thought it's like Anthony Joshua is going to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. I mean, when he came out and fought Tyson Fury a few months ago in Saudi, Tyson Fury looked like he hadn't trained at all, and B, he looked like he didn't want to be there, and he took him lightly. And Ngannou hit him with a big shot and disoriented him, and then he just never really got back on his game the rest of the fight, but still etched out a decision. Now, what I thought was going to happen with Joshua is that Joshua was going to see what he did with Tyson Fury, and he's going to take this a lot more seriously. Yeah. So that when they got in the ring together, he didn't play around with him at all. He was in tip-top physical shape, and he toyed with him and just completely dominated him. And that's what I figured was going to happen here, because Anthony Joshua is a legit former world champion, and Ngannou is an MMA fighter. As much as you want to slice it, he's a good puncher, but he's not a professional boxer. No. So I figured this is what was going to happen.
He did not want to go for the 12 rounds, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
He was not getting paid by the hour in that fight.
I think he was pissed he didn't finish in the first round.
Well, yeah.
He knocked him down right in the first round, but he didn't finish him to the second.
No, he looked annoyed. He looked annoyed at hell. I'm going on a round of this guy.
Like, why is this guy still on his feet? What's going on here? Now, I got to ask you, Haney. This is a question that only you can answer here. Who is more popular in the UK, Joshua or Fury?
Fury, 100%.
Oh yeah, I would figure so.
Okay, because I mean they're both heavyweight champs from the UK, so I didn't know which one was more popular.
I have a question for y'all. I'm even talking like y'all. Who makes the best chicken sandwich in the fast food?
I'm partial to, and I hate to give them credit because I don't like some of the things they do as a company, but I've yet to taste a better spicy chicken sandwich at the fast food level than Chick-fil-A.
We don't really have those out here, but I think there's one far away.
I had that in Guatemala many years ago.
Okay.
That was freaking good.
Guatemalan Chick-fil-A. Interesting.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the burgers in Guatemala, McDonald's, wherever you go, they look like the pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone cares about their job so much.
Yeah, so it's not they don't like half-ass it like they do if you go to like
there you go.
You go to like Lexington, Kentucky, and order a McDonald's cheeseburger. It's going to be like a rubber turd on a bun.
But to me, the best chicken sandwich is still Popeyes.
Popeyes is a good one. Yeah.
Popeyes is good. But their spicy sauce with it's good. I'd have to say, but these guys don't have it. Like the Canadian chain, Mary Brown's. Mary Brown's is a freaking pretty kill chickens.
Yeah. Now, as far as Popeye goes, we talked about this on Wrestling with Paranormal with Liam many months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Popeyes in the UK didn't translate?
Yeah, he didn't like it.
Well, I've seen some pictures online, and they're not doing it properly. It looks like this.
Now, what do we do with this? What is this Cajun shit? What do we do?
I have to sort of disagree because I've had Popeyes in the States, and what was it? Yeah, it's not.
Have you had the Popeyes in the UK?
Yeah.
What's the
And you
difference,
have the
Haney?
Popeyes in the States.
Well, our chicken hasn't got chlorine in it for a start.
Yeah, you need the chlorine.
It's the secret ingredient.
Yeah, if you don't have the chlorine, it's going to say
It's one of Colonel Sanders's like secret herbs and spices
Yeah.
that just got used by the other chicken companies as well.
Yeah, like the reason I
chlorine.
even knew about this place because we didn't have Popeyes for years up here
Yeah.
in Canada.
Yeah,
But
literally just in the past few years we've gotten it.
yeah, so I guess people were getting into fights over the lineup at Popeye Chicken.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good that people were getting into fist fights.
That is ridiculous.
It was the same.
That's like something that happens here in America.
Yeah,
No, see when Popeyes opened up here, you should see that. I mean, when the one out in Edinburgh opened up, there's traffic jams and all sorts. You know, for people to try.
Wow.
You know, but because it's just the novelty of it. It's like, I mean, we've got. I mean, you think about it. We've got McDonald's, KFC, and Burger King, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the main ones. If you go, what was it? I don't know. Do you have Nando's? You probably hear a lot about
Yeah,
Nando's.
oh, yeah, man. I love Nando's. Nando's is kill.
it's a bit pricey. It's a bit pricey.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the States, but
Mhm.
Okay.
when Nando's first opened, it was amazing. You know, because there was only a few of them in the UK. Like I don't know if it's a UK brand or what, but as it got more and more, I describe it as anorexic chicken. I think they go and find
It's a roasted chicken with peri peri sauce.
Anorexic chicken.
Yeah, they don't have fried chicken though, unfortunately. That would be kill.
But what was it called? For the longest time, McDonald's and KFC was your sort of option. There is Burger Kings, but it was never really sort of popular. What was it as popular as McDonald's over here?
Now, I find this funny about Burger King. In the UK, it's not called Burger King.
What is it?
It's Hungry Jack's.
Really?
What?
Yeah, because I guess Burger King is owned by someone. The name is owned by someone else.
But it's a Burger King franchise, but just with a different name.
Yeah, it's called Angry Jack's.
Can I
Jack's.
Can
I think the same thing in Australia, I heard too.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Let's let Haney clarify this for us. Haney, go ahead.
I don't know where you heard that from, but it's not true.
I heard that from Brody, the guy from Australia.
No, we have. Are you thinking Australia, not the UK?
Yes, no, I'm not talking about UK. I'm talking about Australia.
Okay. We thought you were talking about the UK.
Yeah, you said UK first.
Yeah, you said UK.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Go ahead and say it. Say it's all the same.
Yeah, UK, Australia, it's all the
They took
Hey,
They
the river,
and they
has,
sent them to Australia, and that created
It's all
Australia.
the same.
that was the rumor. It's all the rejects. All the rejects, the
Oh, yeah,
drunks,
it's all the criminals from the UK
rapists.
anyways.
Yeah.
I was about to say that if it wasn't, but I mean, it's all the same. If it wasn't for the fact that your great grandfather was a criminal, then you would be one of us. So it's fine.
Now, Alex, let me ask you this: are there any like evil past generations of Haney that ended up in Australia?
Probably.
He was one of them, but he escaped.
I just back.
He came back. He got back to the.
I'm gonna have to ask Liam that question too. Are there any like bad Wakelins that like murdered somebody or something that got shipped to like Sydney, Australia?
You're more than likely to find people with Irish names because that's a lot. I mean, Ireland's part of the British Isles. It's quite funny because who was it said to me a few months back? They were. I was round about like Thanksgiving and we were having a lot of banner and using it was Australia Day and things like that, and it's like. What was it? It was Jason. It wasn't that long ago. What was it?
The new guy.
What was it? And it was about. I think it was just bizarre because they were making a joke about sort of like chasing the British out, and it's like I'm Scottish.
Now, so did they just? Drop them off on a ship and say, "Okay, go," or was there some sort of society to it, or like to just leave them there to die, or what was it?
They were sent over there to build, but hard labour is the wrong word, to build communities and build the cities and things like that. It was essentially
Okay, so they weren't just like, here, get off the boat. You're in this.
no.
It was what do they call it? A prison colony? Is that what they called it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's a legal term for slavery.
Yeah. It's one of those, you know how the Europeans, the British in particular, were really good about like covering up the term slavery and calling it something else.
Well,
Indentured servitude.
well, if you commit a crime, like you lose your rights.
Yeah, literally in this case, they just ship you off to a whole nother continent and say, see ya, bitch. You ain't coming back.
You ain't getting a retrial, that's for sure.
All right, gentlemen, we are an hour and 10 minutes into this. I think we should go ahead and wind down and wrap this up. But
I just want to quickly mention,
go ahead.
we got the garage after dark tonight.
I've not even got my wrestling point out. I was making a joke about checking and secret agent.
Oh, but I just want to mention quickly before you kind of wrap up and say your little spiel. So we got the garage after dark tonight. That's immediately following Collision, and we also have tomorrow. We got the All Effing Wrestling Show. We're going to do the round table, and we are going to be taste testing and giving our reviews on the Prime drinks.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting.
Well, about two. We'll see. We'll see if they're any good. I'll give you my thoughts on them. Shane, did you buy two or one?
I'm gonna have 3 probably.
Oh, 3. So you'll be able to test different flavors. JFB's going to buy some. I don't know if Joe Graham's going to have any, but I asked him to. We'll see.
It's going to be funny. Not that I'm hoping that any of you do this, but if like one of you starts like gagging and throwing up on the air or something,
It's just like,
Oh yeah, no. We need a
be a
spit
hell of a
bucket. Right?
viral that we could cut into a YouTube short and get a lot new viewership. Yeah.
I need a spit bucket right beside me. Oh,
I was hoping Randy Orton did that last night when he took it.
But what about that? I mean, it's actually not true. It's not the first time WWE's had sponsorship in the ring. They've tried it once before, but what was it called? But to have that, it's going to look ugly.
But it was only there for a minute. It wasn't there the rest of the show.
No, but it's going to be on there at WrestleMania, and apparently it's going
Yeah, it's going to be on the PLEs from now on, apparently.
yeah, they'll
In the
actually
middle of
have
the
it.
ring.
They'll have it actually ironed right on or whatever they do, like press. They'll actually have it pressed right into the
It'll
mat.
be like when you
it-
watch the UFC and they have the big Bud
Yeah.
Light logo in the middle of the octagon. That's what it's going to look like.
WCW back in the day when they used to actually have their logos right pressed into the ring, and then
Yeah.
the Slim Jim in the corners or whatever.
You know,
it's
I
called.
wouldn't mind if it just said Prime in the middle. But this
Yeah.
big bottle logo, it looks
All right.
horrible.
It's going to be ugly. Yeah.
I
That
mean,
is.
how could we be shocked though? Because he's got the rights on the UFC match. Speaking of Prime, so it's just another partner of the UFC, anyways. WWE. So
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all business. And I know that probably about a year ago, there was a quote going around from Nick Khan saying that, he was open to doing things like putting sponsorships on the mat.
yeah.
It looks
Well,
like
you
we've
know-
come full circle here.
the shareholder TKO
Well,
share-
AEW's doing
shareholder.
it too, but they're just doing it on the sides. They're doing
Yeah, I mean, it's money. I mean, what can we
How
say?
can you
That's
not?
just that's business, I
Yeah.
mean, the UFC's been doing it like this for years.
Yeah.
Hey,
Um,
sports teams now have like NHL just introduced. So now, like every hockey team, they got some logo, like a TD Bank logo on the side of their helmets
Yeah, it's
or
only
on
on their home
jerseys.
uniform.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
only on the home one.
look at Formula One. That little logo on a race, a top racer's helmet is worth 20 million. That little spot.
Wow.
Oh my god,
Wow.
that is
Holy
insane.
shit.
I
One
just
guy's
watched
helmet,
Formula
20
One
million
this morning.
bucks.
Yeah.
I was just watching it. I just watched the race that was on a few hours ago, or not even an hour ago.
I mean, some of the advertisements on the car, you're talking hundreds of millions of pounds. It is insane money. That's what and it's going to be very interesting because obviously, as we go to a carbon-free world, what's going to happen with Formula One? Because it's going to diminish because
It's going to be all electric cars that don't make any noise at all.
Now,
That's what-
NHL does digital advertising on TV. So
Yeah.
the boards on TV are different than the boards
Yeah.
in the
And
arena.
then
Wow.
on the gloss, they'll do it on the gloss too, because like, well, you don't need to see the fan really anyways. So
Yeah. That's
We-
interesting.
We
It's
used to
interesting.
have. We used to have what was it in the football over here? They used to have a sponsorship, and it was Jiffy's condoms.
On that note, we'll let Mr. Eyesiks wrap up here.
All right, guys. As Canada Dry said, later on tonight, we've got the garage. It's formerly known, I guess, kind of still partially known as Collision After Dark, where myself and Canada Dry and good old Golden Graham, GM Joe, Evil GM
Kevin
Joe,
Kelly.
American Hero, is going to be on the program with us. Now, is anybody joining us tonight, or is it just the three of us?
We might have some call-ins, but it's just the three of us. But people are welcome to call in as well.
Absolutely. We'll put the link out there for everybody. Haney, what do you want to say?
I'm just going to say I will be in Slumberland, by then.
Well, if you dream about us, maybe
yeah.
maybe you can tell us what happened in your dream.
Just talking about that, did you get the edible chasing you the other night, Shane?
what?
Come
The
again?
edible chasing your dreams the other night.
The edibles are. Listen, he's more of a drinky poo guy than a edible guy.
Who, JFB?
No, Shane.
Oh, Shane.
I'm also a
I
hash
thought
guy.
JFB was more than the edibles.
He's obviously can't remember the conversation in the chat. I mean, that's terrible. It was only like 2 days ago. But
all
anyway,
right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're at an hour and 16 minutes. So this has been a lot of fun, though. Like I said, this has been completely impromptu.
I was only supposed to be on for 5 minutes, but
none of this was
I was
planned.
only going to talk about the hearts.
This basically turned into a
round
roundtable discussion where we talked about Earthquake, we talked about chicken sandwiches, we talked about the hearts. But this is what I like. I like this just impromptu, throw shit at the wall and let's see what happens, see what sticks.
that should
So
be
I
a
think
show.
this is
Shit
fun.
on the wall.
Shit on the wall. That's what I should have called this episode. It should have been the magic of wrestling. Shit on the wall.
Please don't do that. The 40's just sitting there, right?
Liam would come here and he'd be looking at the show and he would say that he'd see an episode of Magic of Wrestling called Shit on the Wall. He'd be like, what the fuck?
You can change the name. You can actually make it be called Shit on the Wall. You can edit.
I don't know. I'll probably just leave it Mr. Eyesiks solo free for all. But
Okay.
but thank you guys for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm not going to do any big speeches here or anything. Just catch us out tonight. Check us out tonight. We'll be doing the garage tomorrow. Check out the All Effing Wrestling show, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening. Put your fist in the air up, everybody. Just keep fighting.